Hey Arc Addict family, how you doing again? One more time. All right, ready. 1, 2, 3, 4. What's up Arc Addict family? Today we're gonna do a 6010 718 demo with a 4-inch Schedule 80 pipe. What I want to show you before I tack it is the importance of putting a landing when you're doing a 6010. There's a nickel, to kind of give you a reference, a nickel and what we call a nickel landing. That's about how much landing you want inside the bevel when you're doing a 6010. The gap I'm gonna use right now is gonna be a 332 gap. I'm gonna space it out properly, make sure I don't have any high-low, and get to welding. With the 6010, when you're gonna tack it in a 2-2 position, you always wanna angle the rod towards the top bevel. That way, gravity will do its natural thing and pull that heat and molten metal down. Okay guys, like I mentioned in the previous video when using that 6010, if that rod goes completely through where you're tacked, you know you're supposed to turn down the heat just a little bit. Remember, every machine is different, so there's not exact setting, but there's just a rough idea of how. But again, what never fails me is if I could stick the whole entire rod through the whole thing, it's a little bit too hot. What I want is just the end of the rod without the flux being able to go through the rod to make sure I'm penetrating but not overheating the pipe. Going for a second tack, and again we'll check the temperature now that I turned down just a little bit. Okay, Arc Addict family, we're gonna start at the bottom, work our way up. Like we said, we're going uphill with the 6010. Remember always to feather down your tie-ins, and also the method I'm be using is called the whip, the step. There's a few names for it, where I'm basically the stitch, where you basically move forward, create heat, push in the rod, and bring the molten metal back to the initial bead. So you gotta go back and forth motion, back and forth motion. Like a stitch, like a weave, back and forth. Also, it's very important to listen to the sound that that pipe is generating. If you don't hear it screaming, you're not using your rod right.
All right, Arc Addicts. One of the main things you're listening for is the sound that pipe is making. Every time I keyhole, go into it, come back. Keyhole, go into the puddle, and come back. As you notice that I'm always touching the end of the puddle before going right back up, and what I'm allowing time to cool before coming back. Adding more metal, letting it cool, moving up, coming back. And again, try to listen for that noise that pipe makes as I'm going up. If you don't hear that noise, you're definitely not penetrating.
To the right side, I usually get a crescent wrench or something like a file to recline on to make it easier to come on the right side. Real case scenario, I realized I was such in a rush that I had a bigger gap than I wanted to. I initially wanted a 332 gap, but as you can see, I have more or less wide, like about 1/8 gap. So what I'm gonna have to do is turn down the amperage on the water machine, and I'm gonna have to step a little further or even do horseshoes in order to tie in properly to get that root pass penetration the right way I need it.
The fit up is something we sometimes can and can't control. In this situation, I could have prevented it. However, in order to successfully weld this bead in there, I am having to move a little further away from my puddle, but always coming back to it, back and forth, back and forth. And you'll see me here in just a minute change technique from back and forth to horseshoe. on this shot, you see me going to the right, left side.
Alright guys, just finished the root pass on this pipe here. One thing I did want to mention is when I tacked it, I got ahead of myself. I guess I was in a rush, but the gap was a little bigger than I would like. With that said, that was about 70% of the battle. Moving forward, I want to make sure my fit up's a little better because there's no need to struggle. As you see, I was having to horseshoe back and forth. But one thing I want you to see in the previous arc shots, if you didn't notice, rewind a little bit of the video and notice how I'll always keep the rod inside. I know that by the sound that that pipe was making, and also by going back to that puddle, back and forth, back and forth. And because of my experience, that's what allowed me to know whether I had a horseshoe, move back up and forth, back and down. I know a lot of times when you're new to welding and you want to know the tips and tricks, that's one of them. And again, I do this stuff second nature. So if you pay attention to the actual how I run that bead, you'll see what might help you in your future welds. Let's get to doing this hot pass.
Here you'll see me doing the hot pass in the circle motion, making sure I tie in both walls, top and bottom, and back into my puddle. I get away from the puddle, side to side, back and forth, round and round.
As you can see, we ran the root, the hot pass, those circular motions, and as you can see from the screenshot, you'll be able to see the design of the back and forth motion. Now I'm gonna go to 7018. I'm gonna put the machine right about 90 amps, and at this point, I think it'd be better for me to run stringers, meaning one bead on one side and then the other bead on the other side, to make sure I don't leave any slag trapped in between the welds. A tip when welding 7018 is you want to strike the arc this way, circle and come back around. That way any slag or anything trapped in there, you'll be able to burn it out. Okay, arc addicts, one of the main things you want to do on a good tie-in is, again, strike up here, come here, make a circle, and work your way back up. A little past that tie-in, circle, and come out. Let's go for it. Like I explained earlier, I was gonna run beads, and for that reason is, as you can see, it minimizes the opportunity for me to track slag in there, and at the same time it's a lot easier to be consistent by simply just dragging the 7018 rod. In this field, from a lot of people starting to weld, one of the main questions asked, how do I know how much more filler rods do I have to put into this material before I start capping? Well, a good cheat would be take your rod, bend it in an L shape, put it right on the bevels, and if you could see a gap wide enough to stick a rod through, then you're likely needing to put more metal in there. With that said, we'll have 2 more fillers before we start capping. Alright guys, as you see now I'm completely flush. I ran that rod around it and it's completely flush all the way around. I'm ready to cap, but I do want to let it cool down a little bit. If it's a little too hot, it will tend to want to undercut and other things like that. So give yourself that time to cap. Hey Arc Addicts, so I have a tip for you. I get this asked a lot. Should I do 2, 3, 4, 5 bead cap? Well, the purpose of the cap is to completely cover the bevels. So in this case, you can see I still see the bevel on this here edge. So I'm gonna take the time and cap it with 3 bead cap on this pipe here. Watching another video, please like, subscribe, but more importantly, give us some feedback. Let us know what you want to watch in the next welding video. That way we can help you out with the knowledge we built over the years. At the same time, thank you for watching this channel. Everything we do is for you guys. The content is for you guys that are wanting to learn how to weld. We're here for you guys. Stick to it, stick with your passion, and eventually you will be successful.